Hello there, my name is Ian Russell Kong Yao. I am a legal researcher and I will be covering a specific area of the research regarding the COVID-19 situation in Malaysia, that is, the application of law in Malaysia relating to the issue aforementioned. As a small brief of the COVID-19 situation in Malaysia, the pandemic has had severe economic impact, reducing the country's GDP and had a far and wide social as well as cultural impact towards the country as a whole. The first COVID-19 case appeared in Johor on 25th January 2020, which led to a few local clusters. Malaysia led on to be one of the world's best countries in handling the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the Malaysian government and its citizens were deceived by the low number of cases and slowly restrictions were lifted. The situation went downhill and Malaysia was in turmoil with over 2.2 million confirmed cases and over 160,000 active cases and over 26,400 deaths as of October 2021. However, the vaccine program was introduced in early February 2021 and became the nation's beacon of hope to surviving the pandemic. Currently, the Malaysian government stance is that vaccinations are solely voluntary. Legally, there is no explicit law mandating the vaccination. However, alongside the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act of 1998, also known as PCID, there are a number of laws and regulations that do in fact touch on sicknesses, infectious diseases, and even safety guidelines. Such laws are the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1994, known as OSHA, and the Factory and Machinery Act of 1967. OSHA guidelines impose that employers have a responsibility to take care of the safety and the welfare of their employees. Regarding common law, there is currently little to no cases regarding the COVID-19 vaccinations, but a case from New Zealand may provide useful. The case of Department of Labour and Idea Services Limited of 2008 had the employer sued due to the fact that one of his employees contracted hepatitis B. It was held that the employer had undergone practicable steps to ensure that the safety and welfare of his employees and that asking for a blood test was way too much. Moreover, the court also held that the employer had already done his job by providing sufficient equipment and even going to the extent of advising the employee to undergo yearly health screenings. Conversely, in another New Zealand case of WorkSafe New Zealand and Rent to Kill Initial Limited in 2016, the employer had put a blood test in the employment policy where the employer offered immunization to hepatitis B should his employees not have it. Subsequently, an unimmune employee contracted hepatitis B and the employer pleaded guilty to a lack of care in terms of safety and welfare. The more we can carry out of these cases, and the government and employers have an ability to make vaccinations a requirement for certain jobs and activities, whether it be through policy or law. However, it cannot be a compulsory thing where people are forced to be vaccinated due to the fact that it goes against certain human rights. Should certain citizens refuse to be vaccinated, the government will have a tough time convincing them and even worse, forcing them to be vaccinated. Instead, the government should cater towards the vaccinated and unvaccinated respectively. Although this means curtailing the rights of the unvaccinated by limiting their activities, it is only for the own good of themselves and for those around them. Although the government can legally find the power to make vaccination compulsory through the PCID Section 11, there are also a plethora of other legal and ethical constraints discouraging the otherwise forceful mandate of the government. Few examples of these constraints are Article 5, subsection 1 of the Federal Constitution that says that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty, save in accordance with the law, which can be contested in the eyes of the justice, meaning the government can argue that they can vaccinate you for your own good. But then again, as I mentioned, this can paint the Malaysian government in a bad light as morally wrong and unethical in its treatment of its own citizens. Other laws, such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations, also argue that every human be given the right to life, which further constrains the action of the Malaysian government. Furthermore, many think that making the vaccine compulsory is counterproductive in the sense that it may only heighten vaccine hesitancy due to the small yet strong minority of distrust in the vaccine. It is rather apparent that the status quo is that there is strong tension between the individual rights of citizens and the state interest in protecting and preserving the welfare of the people. It is also rather understandable that the government would want its entire country to be vaccinated, especially given the rise of the new Delta variant, which is ripping through
Now that I think about it, dear Huyen, can employees refuse to get vaccinated?